Hello neighbor, I'm Robert Burns and I trust that you found our previous feature on Inspector General Stephen Street to be utterly fascinating. And I want to follow up on that with a feature. We are very excited about a series that we're going to be bringing to you, and it's going to dovetail about some of the material we talked about for Inspector General Street, and it's part of an overall broader trend that is becoming so prevalent in this state. And that is the massive legal defense cost that we as taxpayers are incurring when litigation arises over improper actions on the part of governmental officials. I mean, I don't know any better way to say it. We've seen it happen over and over again. Stephen Street in the case of Corey Delahousse. We're talking about $58 million worth of FEMA-related fraud, and yet they go after him for $6,000 in allegedly improper invoices. The legal expenses for Corey Delahousse alone are going to end up quite likely being seven figures before this is all said and done. Similar to Murphy Painter, similar to Kathy Durbin. The list goes on and on and on. And I am so hopeful that we will get the checkbook initiative passed so that taxpayers, including myself, will be able to readily see just the ungodly amount that we are spending because certain folks, either in appointed positions or typically appointed, or in some cases elected, they are on a power trip and they're proving that, hey, I can cram whatever corruption I want down your throat, and you're going to have to live with it. And no, we don't live with it. When the employee such as Kathy Durbin sues, we're all having to pay the legal expenses for that, okay? And it's becoming incredibly aggravating to me, and I'm so hopeful this checkbook initiative passes so that we can get a firm handle on the staggering amount of these legal fees. Now, in that regard, I want to shift our focus. Many of you will remember the recent feature we did on the W.D. Smith cosmetology situation. And I'll tell you, we're going to have more to report on that, but as it turns out, there's a whole lot more problems over there at that particular cosmetology program than I ever dreamed possible. And we're gradually learning far more here in the last week or so. I've got some public records requests pending that should shed. I used to be an auctioneer, so a little tongue twister like that shouldn't be a problem. Should shed some more light on that situation. And we'll be bringing that to you forthwith once we have it and can substantiate that of which I speak. But today, I told you when I did that W.D. Smith situation that I got so many phone calls from the 337 area code, and when I first got the first couple of them, I said, okay, I didn't enter. I should, had I known what was going to happen, whenever I got them, I should have added those folk as contacts, because I wound up getting so many that then I said, oh, I need to call this person, but I'm not sure which one of these numbers is theirs, okay? And the bottom line is there are a lot of folks with a lot of things to say about the Lafayette Parish School Board, okay? And so we're going to begin our focus today. It's going to be kind of an introductory preface because we are going to have as a special guest to do a little mini-series, if you will, on some of the corruption that took place in the Lafayette Parish School Board. And he is none other than former Superintendent Dr. Pat Cooper. And let me tell you something, I have met with Dr. Cooper at the urging of some folks that guided me toward him, and he is going to have one more fascinating sequence of events to relay to you folks. I mean, you're probably going to have a tough time believing some of the things that you're going to hear as we conduct this interview with Dr. Pat Cooper. But let me, for our introductory, if you will, just sort of a prelude to head into our feature with Dr. Cooper, let me just say that just like with Corey Delahousse, just like with Kathy Durbin, they were reporting things that in the overall scheme of things were not huge dollar amounts, okay? But Dr. Cooper is one that's going to run things by the book, and so these were improprieties that were taking place. It happened to be by friends of people on the school board, and they wanted him to just, you didn't really find that out, did you? And he didn't go along, okay? And what happens is what is a relatively small dollar amount for some folks on a power trip explodes into massive legal fees. And that's what we're going to be presenting for you today. as many of you may well know, I make an ungodly number of public records requests. And so I started doing if you're going to do investigative reporting, you've got to. You can't just come out here and start shooting from the hip. And over the course of the years that I've been doing this, I can safely say I know I've made hundreds of public records requests. I can also tell you that I have never ran into the stiff resistance and the rigmarole and runaround that I got when I made a public records request for the Lafayette Parish School Board's legal invoices from the year 2012 going forward, be they from Seals Hammond, be they from Phelps Dunbar. It got so aggravating that I had to involve some high-powered attorneys, and I had to end up in drafting a letter to the district attorney, Keith Stutes, in Lafayette Parish, because I said, I am getting nothing but runaround. At one point, I was being told, in fact, we showed that, did a feature on that with regard to Mona Bernard, the point person, having said it was going to take weeks just to download those invoices. Can you believe that in the year 2018 that you would believe you've got credibility in putting in that it would take? We'll give you a link for that previous feature that I did. And I mean, thereafter, it was going to take weeks. The next thing I knew, a couple of days later, we've got them ready for you. They're on a flash drive. Great. They said a gentleman named Mr. Hardy over at Seals Hammond had them, and weeks go by. Literally, I don't hear a word from Mr. Hardy. And finally, I said, all right, enough is enough is enough. Okay. And fortunately, I got some really, really good attorneys that got behind me there in my quest to get those records. And also Keith Stutes, the district attorney whom I told you about, he fired off a letter on Thursday of last week, March the 22nd. The day I'm filming this is Sunday, the 25th. Thursday, March the 22nd, he fired off a letter. Well, guess what? Lo and behold, the next day I get a FedEx package that has a flash drive that has the long-awaited legal invoices, okay? We're already giving you a feature on it today, so that's what, 2 days turnaround time? The flash drive that I got had 109 files on it, so I consolidated them in a way that you could get the legal fees for Seals Hammond for the years 2012 going forward, and also Phelps Dunbar for the years 2014 going forward. Now, let me just say this. We were supposed to get 2014 because I'm told that it was in May of 2014 that a gentleman named Dennis Blunt became very involved, and we have no invoices. None, zero, zilch, nada. For the year 2014. That's why you'll see a big question mark on the table and a statement that we didn't get them. Obviously, I'm sure you know I will be following up to say, look, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume this was a mistake, but I want the 2014 invoices so that we can update the table that you see appearing before you. Likewise, for 2015, the earliest invoices for Mr. Blunt were April the 28th of 2015. I have been told in no uncertain terms there were considerable billings during the year 2015 that were applicable for this gentleman, but I don't have them. Okay, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and figure it was an oversight. Although I'm told that these legal fees are going to be massive. Okay, but even without those, let's talk about what's happened here. Remember, I told you these were just what should be fairly minor incidences that Dr. Cooper would not tolerate and pursued, similar to Kathy Durbin, okay? And in the year 2012, they only had 3 general counsel attorneys, okay? And you can see the figure. It's only $37,000 for the year 2012, only $3,000 a month. They didn't have to spend a whole lot on legal fees, folks, all right? And by the way, one of the reasons it was lower is because Roger Hamilton, who was the district attorney for Lafayette Parish at the time, was providing legal services at no charge. How's that for a deal for the taxpayers? The school board's getting his services at no charge. But here's the problem. They didn't like what Mr. Hamilton, Roger Hamilton, they didn't like what he was telling them with regard to how to deal with these situations Dr. Cooper was bringing up. And, you know, like I said, these folks that are in elected and appointed positions, they get on these power trips. And so they said, well, we're going to fire him. So, I mean, I'm not talking about Dr. Cooper yet. That happened later. But they said, we're gonna release District Attorney Roger Hamilton. He's no longer gonna be our lawyer. We're going out there and getting some hot shots over there at Seals Hammond, all right? Take a look down that column at what started happening to their legal fees. I mean, just look down the number. 2013, almost $107,000. 2014, $186,000. 2015, $266,000. 2016, $335,000. 2017, $245,000. And for 2018 through January alone, $31,000. Almost as much in January alone as for the entire month of 2012, and that's to say nothing of the Phelps-Dunbar invoices. You know, chicken feed, another $43,000 for 2015, $52,000 for 2016, and $41,000 for 2017, and $15,000, a little bit of extra lagniappe for 2018. So you combine the two 2018 legal invoices and you're at $46,000 for 1 month. And an awful lot of it had to do with having to defend against litigation that Dr. Cooper filed after they terminated him. Like I said, they weren't happy with what the DA was guiding them with regard to Dr. Cooper. So they go out and get the big shots at Seals Hammond, and lo and behold, on November the 4th of 2014, they were able to succeed in getting sufficient votes to fire Dr. Cooper, okay? And you can see the massive legal fees that have resulted, all right? And this is why I'm saying so many times you will hear these governmental bodies saying, oh, we're down to the last bone, we've cut to the bone. The problem with that whole theory is they're on power trips that are costing you, and me, obviously, an ungodly amount of money. And so these cries that we've got to have this tax and we've got to have that tax, they ring hollow, okay? I don't know any other way to say it. They ring hollow. We're talking about, total legal fees here have racked up to almost $1.4 million. $1.4 million over these last few years. What a staggering number. What a staggering number. How many decrepit buildings that may be in the Lafayette Parish School System could be repaired very nicely with that $1.4 million? How many special instruction programs could you have if you had that $1.4 million to spend on the kids the way you're charged to do, instead of on your own power trip about getting rid of a superintendent because, well, he stepped on a few toes, some people that were doing some improprieties. All right. Now that ought to whet your appetite for some of the specifics that we're going to get for you from Dr. Cooper. I hope everyone has an enjoyable upcoming Easter holiday. And look, I had to work. As I said, you have no idea all I had to go through to get these legal invoices. That's why I created links for them. I give you the dollar figure, but I want to encourage you to go in and take a look if you'd like. I know there's some folks that have been waiting quite a while on these legal invoices, so I already know you're going to go. But John Q. Public, I want to encourage you. Click on the link. Go see these invoices, the massive billings. Then you will know that of which I speak. Since I had to go through such hell to get the records, I'd like for as many of you out there to benefit from them and go in and take a look. Thank you so much for tuning into this Sound Off feature. We look forward to bringing you that mini-series with Dr. Pat Cooper, former superintendent of the Lafayette Parish School System, in the next few weeks. Thank you once again. Robert Burns, Sound Off, Louisiana.